In your opinion, how important is it to have a mission, a vision, core values for your organization?
Oh, at an organization level, it's imperative, but they can't just be like something written on, it can't just be a catchphrase, right? So many companies, you can walk in and there's the poster in the lobby that says, here's our core values. But you ask literally the person sitting 10 feet from that poster, what are the core values of the company? And they go, I'm sorry, what? They have no idea, because people, it's trendy to do that. And for the purposes of our book, I'm not even talking about a company level. I'm talking about core values for yourself. Like, what's important to you? What are your core values? Because it's far more important what you value as a human being. And then you find a company that's in line with your core values, right? Because I don't care if I'm going to work somewhere, I don't care what their core values are if I don't know what mine are. Because what difference does it make, right? Oh, I'll just do this. And then all of a sudden, man, it doesn't work. And I'll tell you a great thing that I heard, I think it was Robert Glazer told me this maybe on the podcast, who's great. But he said, the inverse of core values is more important. And I said, well, okay, what does that mean? Tell me about that. And he goes, well, when you talk about a core value, describe the inverse of that. And if that doesn't make you really like cringe, like, oh, just grunt, like nails on a chalkboard, if you don't get that emotion from it, then your core value is not real.
That's interesting.
So if like somebody writes on the board, like our integrity in all things. And if you write, well, what's the opposite of that? It's like, well, it's okay sometimes to bend the truth and lie. If you're like, well, maybe that's okay, then that's not really one of your core values, because the inverse doesn't, to your soul, like upset you. Like I said, and what's funny, because I was late for this podcast today from a scheduling thing, which is ironic, because he asked me, he says, like, what's something that absolutely drives you insane, like to your core? I'm like, people that are late drives me insane, because it shows such a complete disregard for the value of other people's time, right? And he said, okay, then one of your core values probably is we value time. And I said, that's absolutely probably true. That is one of my personal core values, is respect and value time. So looking at it that way, I think, again, you've got to establish what's important to you before you worry about what's important to your company, if it's yours or something else.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's very easy to get caught up in just ChatGPTing your mission and vision core value statement. Along those lines, I'm kind of curious. By the way, I like that core value of we're on time, for example, or like we're timely, we respect other people's time. I think that's a good one, because that's one of my pet peeves too. I heard something the other day that just blew my socks off. It said, what you accept is what you can expect.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, you can't just go laying off everyone because they make a mistake, right? On the flip side, if you keep accepting it, you're going to expect more of that. So how do you balance that?
Well, sometimes you've got to rip it. Sometimes you have to burn it down, is the truth of it. Because in business, your standard is everything, and it bleeds into everybody. You cannot isolate a weak standard. Like if you have one person that gets away with murder, that is going to bleed into the culture across the board. And I also say never waste a crisis, right? So when you have someone that is not meeting the standard, that is not excelling, and you let them go, you be very honest with everybody else as to why that happened, because they didn't meet the standard. And then everybody else goes, oh, we're serious about that. That's for real. We've got to do that. And especially when you get to a point when you're COO and you have other people that are representing you in the marketplace, even if you're just hiring an employee. Like for example, yesterday I had an agent that works here. There was an agent that came to interview for our company. We're the largest luxury real estate brokerage in Las Vegas. And an agent came in and they did not present in a way that I would hire them to the company. But they had been referred to the company, and they didn't have the experience really either to work here. We only hire experienced agents. But they were referred to the company by somebody else that was excited and had just joined us. And this person did check all those boxes. So she called me and said, I think I want to start a team. And I already knew where it was going, because this person said she didn't have the qualification. We told her you'd have to be on a team to be here, but I figured probably none of the teams were going to hire her. So she started going through, and I said, okay, I love that you want to start a team. I love that you want to do this. And then we walked through all the reasons why you would start a real estate team. And she checked every box saying the right things of why she was in it. And the last thing I knew we got to, I said, okay. She goes, I want to hire this person. And because she's had a 5-year relationship friendly with her. And I said, okay, let me ask you one more question. Forget that you've known this person for 5 years. based strictly on how they present when they walk through the door? Would you hire them day one and send them out with your best client? And she said, no. I said, you can't hire her. I said, you can mentor her from afar, but you cannot let somebody that would not present the way that you want and hold your standard walk around with a business card with your name on it, because that is you in the marketplace. So you've got to hold standards.